Hello everyone. Today I will tell you something about strategic domain-driven design. And why is that? I will skip the part about myself because I was just introduced. Why domain-driven design? Because whatever I'm doing, if I'm a consultant, trainer, and whenever I'm working as a software engineer, technical leader, architect, my main driver is to help teams fight with legacy systems, the huge monoliths that have got all the code extremely tangled, coupled, and they don't know what to do. Lead time goes down. And a few years back, I started to explore domain-driven design patterns, and I started to use in my journey domain-driven design strategic pattern to migrate legacy system towards something better. Sometimes microservices, sometimes just separation in the code. So today, the agenda for my talk is problems and solutions, how we can divide the problem and solution space, what are the difference. Then I will walk you through the code in the way how we usually do that. The solution we love to hate. So that will be about our habits, and that will be about the journey that leads us to extremely difficult to maintain legacy systems. Then I will describe you what's the problem in that, and we'll try to do something different. I will show you the solution in the code as well, but I won't leave you only with the examples in the code. There will be something more. There will be few heuristics that will help you to find bounded context, domain-driven design strategic patterns in your code bases. So let's start. There is a great quote from Alberto Brandolini. It's the developer's misunderstanding, not expert knowledge, that gets released into production. Why I start with that? Because you may have the best product owners, business analysts, stakeholders, clients you ever could imagine. You may work with the best developers, but the tricky part is if the code is written in a way that is difficult to understand, difficult to read that, difficult to find out what to do, where to put new changes, it will be a nightmare after a couple of years. So let's start with the problems and solutions. There is a two concepts, which is named problem space and solution space. What is the difference? So problem space is all the areas that is around the business. Now let's imagine we are creating online shop. There is a lot about marketing, a lot about contact with the customers, a lot about invoicing, and so on and so on. And even if, let's stick to the invoicing aspect, even if in our application we will do invoicing, it won't still cover each and every aspect from the business people heads. So they will know more than what we will put into the code. And it's fine. Why is that? Because our implementation, our solution space should tackle only the problems that we should help to solve. And we can divide problem space into subdomains. So those are more granular aspects of our business, of the business we need to support, we have to support with our application. In example, shop management, storage, accounting. And still, their understanding, so accountants' understanding of accounting will be quite wider than what we know about invoicing. It's obvious. It's the same way as we know more about software development than they will gonna know after we introduce them our application. How subdomains works with, so our solution problem space works with solution space. We are mapping that into a model. Of course, around the model we've got more, like frameworks, libraries, and so on and so on and so on. But in the essence, the core part of our application is a model, is how we reflect not only business terms like invoice, but the interaction. So I can issue an invoice, I can pay it, and so on and so on. And in many situations when I'm jumping into the project, we've got one model for all the problems in our problem space. Sometimes it's okay, I will elaborate on that later, but the more features we are adding, the richer the language becomes, the more interaction is in our system, the more difficult one model is to support everything. Because in the accounting, I've got an invoice. I don't have an invoice in the shop management. In the shop management, I've got products, shelves. I've got customers who want to buy something from me. So those languages doesn't have anything in common. And due to the fact our solution space is represented as one model, I need to sort out those differences in my head, which can be tricky. Of course, I can map it in differently and differently. Implementation, so solution space, depends on the team. We are coming up with the model or models we are introducing. Yet, the tricky part, and I really love this quote, that was eye-opener for me. I really believed that with object-oriented programming, with domain-driven patterns, both strategic and tactical, I can map reality really, really well. But then I read a sentence that all models are wrong, but some are useful. And we should remember that. What does it mean? Can you tell me what is that? Any idea? It's a room. Cool. No, it's not a room. It's a model of the room, but it's kind of useful. If I would like to think how to put my furniture there, perfect. It makes its job. I don't need to have a full room to put the furniture in, I don't know, in the living room. This picture is enough. So yes, I understand that as a room, but this is only a model. This model is wrong because it doesn't have all the details that our rooms have. But it's fine, it's enough to solve a particular problem. This is how our solution should reflect problem space. We are taking all the small details that are relevant for our problems and put them into our solution space, into implementation. Sometimes implementation is drawing a picture. So let me introduce our business, and I will check the time. Okay, still cool. So our business will be shop. So in our shop, we can sell the products, we can buy them. There is some online basket where we are putting our products, and we have to order products from another delivery companies. We've got some storage, we've got accounting, we've got employees management, and so on and so on and so on. Huge application. And I will go through a couple of requirements. So those are requirements, I will get back to them. Here's a link to the example I will just show you. So those are our requirements. Question before I will move on. On the very back of the room, can you see the font or should I zoom in? Okay. Cool. Better? Great. Okay. So there are a couple of requirements here. Register new user account with login and password. So everyone can register to our application. Quite useful feature in most of the application. We would like to create an employee account. So let's imagine this is my shop. I don't want to employee to register themselves. I will put those who are my employees. I would like to add product to the storage. So the products are shipped. I will have to put them into the storage. Maybe not me, some of the employee in the online shop. We would like to place the product on the shelf. So once they are on the storage, I can take them and put them somewhere on the shelf. Then I can put them into the cart. So maybe not me, maybe not even my employee, maybe our customer. Someone will enter the shop, will look at the shelves, and will take the products and put them into their basket. Of course, it would be great if they can pay for those products. And of course, I need to pay my employees, my suppliers, and so on. This is some dummy code. I don't want to go through the implementations. I just want to show you how it may look like. This is a few requirements that are reflected in the code in more or less maybe not final manner, but from the class's perspective, it's enough. So this is our monolithic application. This is the same as, and let's back to the slides, having a couple of problems and one data model. Because I've got a couple of problems in here. New user account. It's something different than allowing users to register in my online shop. This is totally different problem than creating an employee account, like having an employees. This is totally different aspect, different reality, different language, different interaction. We can go farther. Having, like managing the storage, it's also something different than having the employees, paying people, buying the products. Each and every problem represents some different language, some different interaction, some different problems to solve. But I put them all into one application. Okay, and there is not much code. I can imagine that those who works in the system knows this is nothing. Literally, this is nothing. If you are working with legacy application, where all the problems are put in the same, in here, module, it can be directory, it can be package, depends on the language you are using, it will grow. You will have thousands of classes here. And it can be difficult even for that size. So let me ask the question. Let's imagine I want to change employee account. Let's stick to the domain. Where is employee in here? Where is the employee account? How do you know that? Okay, cool. I like that. User account. Let's jump into in here. What is relevant, or maybe everything, is relevant for my employee? You just said this is, and you are right. Just to make it clear. So, yes, you were right. This represents my employee. What is relevant for employee? Or what is irrelevant for employee? Once again? Okay. Permissions, yeah? Okay, maybe. Are you sure? Okay, cool. Maybe. Okay, so you are not sure. Exactly. There is no, it is impossible to take a look at that picture and, to be honest, are you sure this is employee? There is no word in here. Exactly. And you don't know whether agreement is for an employee, bank account, do I really need that for employee? You have no clue. Why is that? Because those boundaries doesn't exist in that model. Let's jump into something different. Let's take a look at another cool aspect, which is product. So in the requirements, I can put product to the storage. I can place my product on the shelf. I can put it on the cart. And let's jump to the product. This is the great, I really like this entity. If I need to decide where I will put, on which shelf I will put my product, what characteristic will be used? Yes? Are you sure? No. Exactly. Of course. And I will repeat that question. And you can imagine that this reflects only, I don't know how many, 7 requirements. This is nothing. Your application supports 70, 700s, maybe 7,000 of requirements. Even though, for my example, it looks like some big entity, I saw entities with 100 fields and more. And how I can be sure that what I supposed to use to change particular feature? I have no clue. I need to keep that in my head. And okay, I can, why not? Let's assume I'm such a smart guy that I can keep all the details in my head. I'm going for holiday, 4 Voxxed days to present something on this beautiful conference, and my team stays without me. There is no contact before, because my cell phone is with me and it's turned off. And they need to make a decision. And they don't know it. And what if I leave the company? And so on and so on. So this is one thing, when you are looking at the entity. Another thing, what is relevant for putting the product to the cart? What classes I supposed to use to modify the logic that is for the cart? You have no clue. Why is that? Because everything is coupled. Even though, because this is cool thing, I hope this is cool because I did my best. This is hexagonal architecture, port and adapter architecture. This is one of the strongest architecture for software developers. This architecture is sold as something that will help you to maintain the code. No, I just proved that with port and adapters, with interfaces, with full isolation of my domain, I know nothing. It doesn't help me. Before I will show you something different, I have to check the time, still got it. This is not always problem, because I just described that as a problem. And of course, if you are talking about thousands of classes, dozens of thousands of classes, this is a huge problem, huge challenge to maintain and modify that code. But of course, if you are starting, if you need to produce MVP, go for it. Why is that? Because you will have less code. I will compare that later. But believe me, if you want to create something that will be thrown away within 3 months, this is the approach you want to take. If you are creating MVP to prove something, this is the approach to take away. And this is the approach to use. What I will present you, it's for the pro application that either we know have to be maintained within a years, or we are already maintaining them for the years. So, yeah, the solution we love. This is something I covered. And yeah, so just to close this particular topic, as I shown you, this example is following hexagonal architecture. This example follows encapsulation. You can use test-driven development. You can have 100% of coverage of your for your code. You can use mutation testing. You can use command queries responsibility segregation, and so on, and so on, and so on. And until you are creating one model, after some time, okay, maybe you are not doomed, but it will take more and more time to develop anything new. So, I think we can do better than that. Strategic domain-driven design. So a little bit of theory. What is domain-driven design? I won't walk you through each and every pattern. The essence of domain-driven design is knowledge. You can have these fancy aggregates everyone are talking about in your code, and maybe you won't. You may use bounded context, and maybe you won't. But the essence is, once you will talk with the business, you will represent the language, represent boundaries of that language, boundaries of our problem space in your code. That's the essence of the domain-driven design, regardless the pattern you will gonna use. This is the main driver of DDD. You will understand the business by looking at the code. You will jump into this code and you will know what works together, what is consistent, what should be changed together, and so on and so on, what language they are going to use. A little bit about the differences. So strategical DDD, this is something I will elaborate more in a second, is about high-level separation. I don't care about classes. Strategic DDD tells me only, here we will have different model, here we will have different model. But whether this model will be implemented with aggregates or it will be some anemic domain model, it's up to you. Strategic DDD is about high-level boundaries. Then you can go in, you can use those boundaries to make a decision how your services should be shaped, maybe or not. Maybe you will create those boundaries only in the code. It's still fine. Tactical DDD is about the code. It's about the data model. So I may pick one specific bounded context, and in one I can use aggregates. I will explore that subject in a moment. Two important patterns from strategic DDD. Ubiquitous language. And I need to admit, when I learned DDD for the first time, I was wrong. I understood it completely in an invalid way. Because ubiquitous, I thought that it will be everywhere. So I will talk with this stakeholder, and they will understand me. I will talk with this stakeholder, they will understand me. I will talk with you as developers, you will understand me. And whatever feature I will talk about, thanks to the ubiquitous language, everyone will know what I have on my mind. I was wrong. Yeah. So it's not about everything. Ubiquitous language is about subdomain. Ubiquitous language is within boundaries of some area from our problem space. So if you have got accounting, you can come up with language that is consistent, that doesn't require any interpretation within that boundaries. An example, here I've got an invoice item, offer, something like that. Here in storage, I don't have those words. I don't even need them. Here I will issue an invoice. Here I will put the product into the box. Different languages. So ubiquitous language is a language used within the boundaries. Within the boundaries from subdomain. What does it mean? Ubiquitous in that case. So if it's not about using that to talk with anyone, what did ubiquitous means? Ubiquitous means it's encouragement to use it everywhere, but not in each and every subdomain. But when you are talking with accountant, use the ubiquitous, use the language. If you are writing an email to that accountant, use the same language. If you are creating a dictionary, wiki page, if you are creating some documentation, use the same language. If you are creating your model in your solution space, use the same language. Thanks to that, you are not, you don't have to map that into your head. You don't have to translate that. This is one problem less. And believe me, as a software developers who have to create an application, you already have tons of the problems on your plate. Eliminate those that can be eliminated. Okay, so benefits, we will understand each other. There will be no need for translation. We can explain as a developers. I can write a code. I can notice something in the code, and I can get back and share my feedback with the business using the words they understand, both the terms and interaction, and it will be clear for them. I won't use words like entity, aggregate, transaction. They don't care. This is irrelevant for them. I will explain them that it's impossible to put that product on the shelf because someone said that we need a weight and size for putting that on the shelf. Let's assume it's correct. So because it's too big, this is the sentence they can understand. And yeah, so we will have mutual help and cooperation because I can get with that feedback to them. And of course, they can share that with me. And the more knowledge I've got about this domain, the easier it will be for me to reflect that in the code. So if the ubiquitous language is a consistent language within some boundaries, can you tell me what boundaries are wrong? Which boundaries are wrong? Which boundary is wrong? Yeah? The first one. Castle hugging pen. Yeah, cool. And just take a look. My friend here just recognized ubiquitous language. This one of the most difficult to understand pattern of DDD, too much D in DD, without my heuristic. This language is not consistent. How it works together? Castle and hugging? And the funny thing is, sometimes I notice things like that, and I'm getting back to my business and ask them, my digital stakeholder, do you really think it can work? And they get back to me with an answer. Yes, Sebastian. You don't see that you can, I don't know, go to the castle, hug with someone, and write a poem about that using the pen. They can get back with such a story. They can show me the consistency within that boundaries. But the cool thing is, you notice the lack of it. It's not obvious. Other works together. Thank you very much for the support. Okay, so let's get back to the bounded context. So if the ubiquitous language is within the boundaries, in DDD, the boundaries is named bounded context. This is our subdomain from problem space. So this is much wider than our implementation. In solution space, something that can help to reflect problem space in our implementation is bounded context. This is area where we've got everything consistent, when we don't need to have any additional interpretation. The tricky part, so this is quite easy. We can have a bounded context about domain-driven design. So I can use the word aggregate, entity, bounded context, ubiquitous language, and it works together. School, bank, geography, shop. So those are totally separated bounded context. But bounded context also depends on the details. Here, we've got geography, so continents. In the geography, I've got oceans, I've got continents, I've got whole Earth. But my bounded context can be only continents. Let's forget about seas, oceans. Or I can stick to the Europe. Let's forget about other continents. I don't care. And it can be my bounded context. But I can get more details, and my bounded context can be Greece, and so on, and so on. And I lost my presentation for a second. So technical issues are also different bounded contexts with different terminology and different interactions. Like, it just went black. Okay, so naive approach is one-to-one mapping, but it's not always the case. It's a good start, but based on the amount of details in here, in your solution space, you should decide whether it should be divided even further or maybe it should be merged. So this is only a hint. This is not a rule of thumb. Okay, second try. Okay, still got some. So let's do something different. Bounded context. And here it is. Now there is no. If I will tell you, let's change something about employers. You don't have to look for the classes. Employee management. It makes sense. There is an employee word. If I will tell you to change the logic related to putting the product to the cart, where you would go? Yeah, cart. You see, you don't even care about classes. It's irrelevant because you've got a bounded context. Bounded context is that word that narrowed down the scope. Thanks to that, I know that I don't care about other problems because I'm in my reality. What's the tricky part about that? So let's compare our products. It's cool from this perspective, but if I will, and hopefully that will work, not here. Yeah, bounded context. Just see how many classes I've got right now. Okay, so something too much. External libraries irrelevant, no context irrelevant, but here there is so many of classes, so many of them. It's at least 2 times more than in the previous example. This is a cons of that. So this is not something for nothing. It's great to look at the bounded context from that level, but you must understand that with that approach, you will have more classes. In example, the product. So when I will go to the shop, I will have a product that I can put on the shelf. But right now, you know that I don't care about size when I'm putting the product on the shelf. This is the only characteristic I'm interested in. If I will tell you how to place the product in the storage, you also see everything. I care whether it's fragile, what is weight, what its size. So this is the difference comparing to what we had in previous example, with the first example. Right now, you've got the clear boundaries. You've got all the information, even if Sebastian Malaca is on Voxxed Day and doing some hopefully cool presentation. Yet, of course, in here, I've got 2 products comparing to the one I had in past. But from the high-level perspective, it's definitely easier to maintain. Another aspect, this is from entity perspective, but if I would like to change some logic in the card, as you said, this is the place where I would like to go. You know this is consistent. You know that here you will find a logic only that is used for interaction with the card. You won't have any invoices there. Your language is consistent, doesn't require any interpretation. The boundaries are strict. The boundaries are reflected in the code base. So that's our benefits. The more and more and more code you've got, the more time you are investing into developing your application, the more beneficial this approach is to having that on the context level. Additionally, the cool thing is, if you will keep it as like that, you can start with monolithic application. And at some point of time, you can decide, okay, but a lot of people are buying from us. So they are going to the cart module. And it would be great to scale. So should I scale everything? No, it will be most probably not good for the resource utilization, not wise move. I really would like to scale the cart. So if you have got bounded context reflected in your code base, and even if that's a monolithic application on the very first day, it's easier to extract that. I won't tell you it's straightforward. You won't face any issues. You will. But it's easier to extract cart from such shaped code bases rather than in such situation where you really don't know what works together. So this is the difference. Cautious of time, I will jump into the slides. So clear boundaries, consistency within boundaries. You can understand the language. After when someone will join the project, it is easier to get them onboarded. Of course, the cost. More classes, many domain models. This is tricky, many architectures. Let me jump into that in a second. I told you that you can have aggregates in some context. So having bounded context on the very top level, I can decide to have hexagonal architecture here, because this is tricky domain. This is tricky problem space that changes often. So I really want to use some heavy artillery here. Hexagonal architecture in example. Let's say payments is some facade on top of, I don't know, PayPal. So this is only an API in here. Do I need hexagonal architecture here? No. To be honest, I don't need any code architecture in that place anyway. And so on and so on. So you can decide what architecture of your code base will be based on the bounded context. Thanks to that, you will benefit from the domain even more, or from the separated model even more. And that additional cost is different than what we are doing on usually. This is something different that everyone are learned. We are learned to create a database, map our entities using some ORM into entities, and many people are using POJOs as an entities. So the domain logic is somewhere there. Bounded context, domain-driven design, strategic patterns encourage to do something different. I'm not saying it's difficult, but if your habits are, if you got used to different approach of developing the software, that can be tricky on the first month, maybe 2, maybe 3, but not because bounded contexts are difficult, because this may be something new for you. Okay, is it better? Checking the time. So there are some things I already mentioned, but how I can find the context? That's the tricky part. Sebastian, you just shown me couple of cool concepts. So what you just did? You are looking at the requirements and you are just putting them somewhere? No, we are engineers. Let's use something. So how to define the context? Name the bounded context. That's the first hint. If you think something should be a context, name it. So here I've got a calendar, renovation, shop, fairy tale, and here I have no clue. I'm getting back to the business. Dear business, how I should name it. And either they will explain me or not. Another thing, the same word, different meaning. So we've got a date. There is a couple of people here in the room. I hope everyone understands the word. And I will tell you like that. I'm sure that your understanding may be different. Because without the context, you don't know what is a date. Maybe it's a fruit because I'm hungry. Maybe it's all about a relationship because I've got my lovely wife there. And maybe it's all about a calendar. If you will look at the word and you will notice that in one requirement you are using the word in a different meaning, most probably we are talking about different bounded context. The same word, different usage. So hello, again, I'm a Sebastian. So how I'm used. In the parenting context, I'm riding bicycle with my daughter. With marriage context, in most cases we are happy, sometimes not. There are different interaction than in parenting space. If I'm at the conference, I'm a speaker, I'm talking to people. But if I'm in the delivery context, I'm this guy who is producing a lot of bugs. Depends on the context, you are looking at the same person, same term, concept, differently. It's another clue. Another thing, the same data, different word. So I've got a name, I've got an address, but sometimes I can look at the set of the information and name it differently. So in the post office, name address is called recipient. In the agreements, name address is a contractor. In the address book, it's nothing different than the contact. So if I will see, if I will spot the same set of information, similar, okay, let's not be so strict, similar set of information, and the different names of that, also name the context. Name the boundaries within that word really makes sense, and it's consistent and doesn't require an additional interpretation and an additional explanation. And no interaction. This is cool. So sometimes I can look at the words and, okay, how it can work together. This is also good hint for us to understand that they are laying in the different contexts. It can be misleading. So if you will notice such thing, the first thing you are doing is go to the business, dear stakeholder, I'm not as wise as you. So can you, dear stakeholder, explain me how I can hack in the castle? And maybe they will explain. So it's a win-win situation. You understood, you can understand them, you can talk with them, you can reflect this bounded context into your code in better way, the way that it will be easier to read and maintain. And you must remember that, unfortunately, even though all of us like the most entertaining part of the software development is sitting next to the computer and typing, creating classes, modules, defining something new, sometimes writing a test. The more time we are spending on reading the code. So let's do the best we can to make this code as readable as possible. And the last hint, I believe, is various names in the process. So sometimes we've got a consistent process, buying something in our online shop. So I'm entering the shop, I'm a customer, I'm looking, putting something into the cart, I'm going to the cash, and there I'm a payer, I'm paying for that. I'm no longer a customer. And let's imagine our shop supports delivery. So if I was a customer, I paid for something and I'm waiting for the delivery, I'm no longer neither customer nor payer, I'm a receiver. And if these products, I received damaged products, I would like to complain for that, and I'm again something different. I'm a consumer in that bounded context. So if you will see consistent business process, it doesn't mean it's automatic, but this is consistent business process, and you will change a name. It can be either person or other term. Most probably you can name different bounded contexts. Something more. So the more requirements you will discover, put them and challenge your bounded context. This is kind of cool. Validate with your imaginary cases, like something straight from the cosmos. Like, okay, can I buy something that doesn't exist in the shop? How it will gonna work? And this is important. Boundaries may change in future. So some of you may know design patterns, strategy, singleton, abstract factory, and so on and so on and so on. Cool thing with those patterns is you are implementing them and they work. Great. With bounded context, it's no longer true. Today, together, we could come up with a good bounded context, and few requirements later, we can decide that this language need to have different boundaries. Because maybe we've got more details, maybe we foresee something that didn't happen and we should change them. If bounded context changes, if your aggregates will gonna change, it doesn't mean you made a mistake. It just means you learn more. that will be all from my side. If you've got any questions, we've got only 22 seconds, but I'm still here. That I really did my best. There are some cool recommendations about bounded context, so I encourage you to read them. But if you've got any question, so hope I've got the time for one right now, and later, of course, I will be still here.
We have some time for questions because it's a coffee break now. So
Okay. Okay, be my guest. I will do my best.
go ahead.
If you have some domains that share same contracts,
Okay.
how do you solve? Do you create one shared domain, or
Okay. Yeah.
you have one model and let's say 10 subdomains,
Mm-hmm.
and you want this model to be known close subdomains?
You are to, so I will try to ask if I understood that correctly, okay? So you mean you've got an application already, and there is an existing model, and you defined the bounded context, the boundaries, and now you think how to put that model there. Copy-paste, my friend. Of course, this is the first step. Sometimes, if you will notice that, so first step is copy-paste. For me, it's always. But later, once you will move more and more code into those boundaries, bounded context, you may notice that they are really close to each other, and then you may decide to put them together. This is one of the options. Hope that.
In the copy-paste, if you want to add properties to the model, then you need to also copy-paste the same properties.
Okay. So assuming, so there are two possibilities, or maybe more, but I've got two in the head right now. So let's assume you've got those similar or same model into two solution spaces, bounded context, and you want to add the property. So first option, you know that this property is used only here and not here. If that's true, you are adding that only here, and this is an evidence you have got your boundaries correct. But there is different approach. You want to add a property, and it works in here and here. So it can be a proof that it would be worth to merge them, and your initial idea was not wrong, but evolved into something different. Hope that helps. Okay, I saw that you had a...
I want to ask if kind of writing domain-driven design is like writing in a microservice kind of way architecture. Because I find many similarities. For example, domain, extract card, microservice application, and isn't it similar?
Okay, it can be similar. Like, no, other way around. It can help each other. You can do microservices without bounded context. You can do bounded context without microservices. But if you are using both of those tools, it can be really beneficial because thanks to that, you've got deployable application that reflects, that holds one responsibility that are totally encapsulated from outer world. Great. It's in total separation. It's in total separation, and it's easier to change the bounded context if you will make a decision later. Yet, one comment: it's not one-to-one mapping. Sometimes you are mapping. You've got a couple of bounded contexts within microservices. If the bounded contexts are small, in example, and they are really chatty with each other. Another scenario, sometimes you are dividing bounded context into several microservices because of, in example, non-functional requirements. So one aggregates is reaching for most of the users, let's say 99%, so we've got separate service for that. For different, because only 1% of users reaching another aggregate, you are extracting that to separate service. Thanks to that, it's easier to scale. Hope that helps. Okay. Thank you.
Sebastian, thank you so much.
Okay,
I have
thank
a
you.
little gift for you here. Thank you so much for your amazing talk.
Thank you very much.
And folks,